Hello, everyone, and welcome to Season 2 of the World with Nate podcast. This podcast was created to shed light on some of the stories and lessons that we accrued during our time here. My hope is that those stories will bring us all together in this thing that we all call life. My hope for this podcast episode is that you find it both enlightening and enjoyable. So, sit back and relax. I want you to enjoy the ride. Special thanks to my friend Buck Kern of Hawkeye Storage and Consulting for helping me bring Season 2 of The World with Nate to YouTube. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Season 2 of The World with Nate in the Hawkeye Storage and Consulting studio. Today, I have a very special guest I want to introduce you to. She's the creator of S.M.A.C.K and the owner of Stricker Photography. Michelle, welcome to The World with Nate.
Thank you.
Heck yeah. I'm excited you're here. I had you on the podcast because I share a ton in common with you. Your story resonated me with the start of S.M.A.C.K and how the process of that has went along, and your mission, providing hope to people through your business. And it's exactly what I'm about.
Yeah.
So the winter walk that we're walking, it really made sense for me to have you on and come talk about that.
Yeah, I'm excited.
Heck yeah. So thank you for coming on.
Yeah.
You're an Iowa kid?
I am an Iowa kid.
From?
Denver, Iowa.
Yeah. Heck yeah. So I shared with you a little bit before. Shout out, I work in a group volunteering, Big House, and I have a group of kids from Denver, and I have nothing but amazing things to say about people of Denver. That small community is amazing.
It is.
Heck yeah. So you were born there. You attended the University of Iowa. We spoke about those things
Northern
beforehand.
Iowa. Yeah.
Northern Iowa.
Yep.
And you went to school for?
Elementary education.
Okay. And did you pursue that after graduation, or what did that look like?
I didn't. I actually did not graduate.
Okay.
I started...
Another thing that we have in common. Things keep piling up.
Oh, it's crazy.
Which is awesome. Okay, so you did not graduate there.
Nope. My junior year, I started working at a company here in Cedar Falls.
Okay.
Just part-time, just for, to get me through college.
Heck yeah.
And I kind of fast-tracked there. So...
it was something you enjoyed at the time?
I did. I feel like it was an opportunity to work with people.
Yeah.
And then I became a supervisor, and then I quickly had to make a decision if I was going to continue school or if I was going to work full time. Yeah. So I actually was the new hire trainer there.
Okay.
So at that time in my life, I felt like it was perfect because I had my own classroom, and I got to develop a lot of the training materials and the training, the process of all the training for the new hires. So it was like my teaching, passion at the time.
It fed that.
So, I'll never forget. I was actually at George with one of my best friends, and that's who I told first. I don't think I'm going to finish school. And it was like, oh, gosh. But,
That's a tough decision.
It is a tough decision. I feel like there's so much pressure to, go to school, go to college right after high school, finish in 4 years, and be a successful individual because you have a college degree. So,
That I feel like was fed to our age people a lot, 30, 35-year-olds.
Yeah.
You couldn't be successful without that.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
That's not necessarily the case, as we've seen.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So you were doing this job.
Yep.
But you started photography?
Yeah. So I kind of started photography by accident, I guess. Okay. I have always loved to take pictures. Even when I was in high school, I carried around my little camera, and I don't know.
Don't age us.
What?
Don't age us. There wasn't an
I won't
iPhone.
tell you what my camera looked like. But no. So I think it was one of my friends had a baby, and that's kind of where it really sprung into me taking them, sessions, and then I got pregnant. Okay. And so then I was, taking pictures of my daughter when she was an infant.
Heck yeah.
And then my life got a little messy. So photography kind of got put on the back burner. It never really became, like a full-time or, thing at that point in my life.
Your occupation.
Yeah, because I was still working full time at this company doing new hire training, and so I just started doing it on the side, and then my life got a little messy. My daughter's dad left me when she was 7 months old.
Okay.
And so it just wasn't, for that short amount of time there, it wasn't even like part of my life anymore. So it's like I started it, I had this passion for it, and then all of a sudden I'm a single mom.
Well, your priorities change, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it just kind of life sometimes gets dumped on us.
Yeah.
And we're forced to scramble and figure it out.
And just make it work.
Heck
and that's kind of the phase I was at. I mean, going through custody and, a 7-month-old baby. And I mean, I look back at that time of my life now and I'm like, oh my gosh, like it was messy. And
the things that we go through.
Put one step in front of the other,
That's a perfect sentiment.
Yeah. So it's kind of funny because my husband and I started dating not long after. I mean, Kylie was about 9-10 months old when we kind of got serious. But it's kind of funny because I'll never forget the first time somebody asked me to take pictures when I, was dating my husband, and he was so confused because, my life had been derailed. And so like that wasn't even on my mind. Right. And so he had never even
known that part of your life.
So he was like, wait, what? Yeah. And I was like, oh yeah, I've kind of been doing this on the side.
Heck yeah.
Yeah. And, it was really, I mean, from day one, my husband has just been like, what are you waiting for? You know, like he's just supportive and like knows that I'm adventurous and he's not, like he's very logical, analytical, like very calm, cool, collected. And
I can also relate to that. I'm married to someone who's my polar opposite as well.
Right? I feel like it just works well that way, but
it does.
Yeah. So I was still working full time and
with
then
this new baby,
and new relationship and new lifestyle.
That's a lot.
That's a lot. It was.
Do you feel like you gave yourself time during that time period to crunch all of that and to process all of it?
No.
Because you were young. 20s?
I was young, 24 when I had her.
Yeah.
Yeah. And, no one ever expects to be a single mom. You know what I mean?
You're right.
Nobody says, oh, someday I'm going to be it's just, you don't expect it. And, now that I look back, I mean, I wasn't well, it's scary. I mean, it's
when
hard.
When you say not well, what do we mean by that?
I just quit taking care of myself. My life was focused on Kylie, which, I mean, I think any parent, any mother, makes that a priority. But I also think that I was so like lost on what being a single parent or co-parent was going to look like.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, I was just so sad, that relationship had ended and that I had no say in it. I had no choice in it, and it was something no control, which has been one of my biggest things in life.
Another thing.
Oh gosh, we had, So
a lot of people find themselves in these situations where life puts you in a spot where we do not have control.
Yeah. And I wasn't eating, I wasn't sleeping. It was just,
And meanwhile, now, as we're older and we've learned those things in life, it's like when we're not taking care of ourselves, we can't possibly be present and be the best versions of ourselves for our children.
Yeah, absolutely.
And in that time, you're just trying to frickin' make it through the days, right?
Yes.
I can't relate to a single parent or any of that. I mean, my mom went through it, and I saw it firsthand, and I can't imagine the stress of doing it alone because I do it with someone else, and it's hard as hell.
It is. It's so hard. And she's 13 now, and I still struggle with her going, like every other weekend. And I mean, it's that lack of control, right?
Yeah.
Like, but when she was 7 months old, 2 years old, 4 years old, and there was no communication with her.
Right.
Oh gosh. I mean, I would leave the phone sitting by me at night in case something happened,
Right.
Ugh.
Just dreading the fear of something bad happening.
Yeah.
When in reality, I'm sure her dad loves her.
Oh, absolutely. And he's a great dad. Like I don't have to worry about her safety when she's with him, and I'm so blessed for that. But
those things creep in. And when we allow them to take space, they root down and will ruin you quickly.
Oh, absolutely.
As you've experienced.
Yeah. And I feel like at that time I had such a good high also though.
Yeah.
Because I had started dating my now husband. And I don't know if that's what got me through that time, You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Is I had the excitement of a new relationship and somebody who genuinely cared about me and cared about my daughter.
Heck
and,
yeah. And the excitement, newness.
Yeah. So I don't think I processed what I went through.
It's easy to put those hard things on the back burner, right?
Because I had such a high. So I think that's when, maybe later in life it came.
Heck yeah.
Crashing down.
Came back and surfaced. Mm-hmm. So when did the full-time photography gig, when did you stop working at your job in town?
So not long after I actually started dating my husband,
Okay.
And he found out that I did photography.
Yeah.
So
Surprise.
I started,
talent.
I know. It's one of my favorite parts of our story to tell. But so I started doing photography again, and then it just really just took off a lot with the people that, I worked with, friends, family members. And it got to the point where I was working all day.
Yeah.
I was coming home, eating dinner with Nate and Kylie, getting her to bed. And then I would stay up and edit until 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning. And that was my life.
Right.
And I think it just took a toll on me. And so I'll never forget, I came down to the break room where Nate and I worked. And I was a mess. I just started crying and I was like, I can't do this anymore. Like, it's just so much to try to do both. And
juggle everything.
Yeah. And he just looked at me and he was like, then quit. And it was like.
My kind of guy. Hell yeah.
Right?
Well.
And he's still that way. Like, he's like.
Gives me goosebumps.
I know.
That's awesome.
It's crazy. And I was like, at that time we weren't married. So I had benefits. Yeah. I was full time. I was a single mom. I mean, and so it was like, I can't quit. And he was like, no, you can quit. Like, and it's the fears of who's going to come take pictures during the daytime.
Yeah.
What if they don't? What if they don't?
Yeah.
Like,
I know. What if no one listens?
Right.
It's just there and your dream's gone.
It's such a chance.
Yeah, it's such a chance.
Yeah. So I did that day. I put in my 2 weeks.
That's strong.
I know.
You took the freaking jump.
Oh, man. That was definitely the scariest, decision that I was able to, that I made myself, the scariest leap.
You had complete control over it. Mm-hmm. But that's freeing too, right?
It is now.
Yeah, now that we're years removed from it, and you're a successful photographer with a photography business.
Yes. Now I'm the one who encourages other people to
take the leap. Do it. Heck yeah.
Yeah.
Heck yeah. Well, there's a whole story in that as well, because people need to hear that. And after 2020, that was a shit show for everybody, right?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
I just had Pixel Labs, shout out, they're publishing a blog for me, and I wrote about, why I started my podcast, and a lot of it had to do with 2020 and the terribleness of it.
Which is so crazy, because I feel like,
it's nuts.
The things that came out of 2020,
things that came
good
out of
things
yes,
too.
Yeah. A lot of bad did.
Yeah.
And I'm not negating any of that. And
right.
I'm not saying it wasn't hard for every single person. But we had to get through it.
Yeah.
And it's done. So it's up to us to draw what we can from it.
Yeah.
And 2 things are S.M.A.C.K in the world with Nate.
Yeah.
So the pandemic, that is something that drew you into creating S.M.A.C.K too, correct?
Yeah. Yep.
Tell me what that looked like.
Well, my husband always jokes.
S.M.A.C.
I know. My husband always jokes, don't give her any downtime or she'll do something with it. So that's where we're at.
Constantly busy.
Yes.
All right.
So I owned Stricker Photography at this point of the beginning of the pandemic for 10 years.
And that is how I initially found out about you, was all my friends were getting pictures with you. And I'm like, who is this? Okay, it's somebody I should know.
Yeah.
So
I will admit I had something just like burning inside of me to do something either else or something more.
Okay.
And that stems from a situation that I went through 4 years ago now, with anxiety.
Okay.
But when I had my downtime, I temporarily closed down my studio because of the virus and wanting to protect my family and everybody else's families. It gave me that downtime, and it was like I had thought and prayed and everything for this, whatever was burning inside of me. And it was like the day that my kids, the first day they were home from school, and and we knew they weren't going back.
Yeah.
It was that day that it just like came to me, which is crazy. Like I had little things like, oh, I want to do something with my handwriting because that's like therapy to me. But I didn't know what it was, you know, but it was crazy because it's like, as soon as I had time to sit down and like do something, it's just like it all just came flooding in. So. And
you could not stop.
Nope.
Since
took off running.
On full afterburner.
Yes.
Heck
Which is so my personality.
It has exploded.
It's so.
You could have never imagined this with your wildest.
Oh, absolutely not.
And it's crazy.
It is so crazy.
I mean, to be completely honest with you, when I heard about it, I was like, my wife, you're going to buy what? With motivational? What? So she tells me the concept, you know, and she gets one, and they're sitting in our junk drawer, and that's the end of S.M.A.C. for me.
Right.
And then I received one. Mm-hmm. I got smacked.
Gets you,
Changed
doesn't it?
the freaking ball game.
I know.
I got smacked by my kid's music teacher, and she wrote a beautiful note about our kids and how they're behaving in school, and I was like, whoa.
Gets you.
I was like, these are S.M.A.C., Christy. This is awesome. Bought
She's like,
pack.
I told you.
I know. So, it took me getting one, and I was like, this is awesome. And then I shared with you, I have 2 in my house.
Yeah.
I'll share them quick here. These are awesome. And the kitchen is for dancing, and that one is the Gala, Keely, and Cambry's tribe. Shout out to them and Jade. And then this has been in my house for a long time.
Yep,
I
that's
told
an oldie.
you,
yep.
And you shared with me that it was an original.
Yeah, very first pack.
And this is in our bathroom. Every single day I see this. And my wife, this spoke to her, and she put it up. And that's
awesome.
Just one of the millions of ways that we'll talk about how you can use S.M.A.C.
Yeah.
And I had never thought of it that way.
It's
and we'll get
crazy.
to that.
Yeah.
But you started it because it spoke to you.
Yeah.
The idea came, and you started running with it. Mm-hmm. 2020 was rough.
Yeah.
And you wanted to do what with S.M.A.C.? What was your goal when you're like, okay, these handwritten notes?
Well, I had a 4-inch white card with black writing that changed my life.
Heck yeah.
And that's where it came from.
Okay.
And so I never really, like I said, there was something burning inside of me, but for some reason that didn't cross my mind when I'm like, okay, something's burning inside of me, like something is going on here. And then it just kind of hit me.
Outlet.
Yeah.
Where you had to put it.
Yeah.
I can get that.
You know, I went from like, okay, is it like birthday party planning? Is it, I don't know. I don't know even the thoughts that went through my head. I mean, that's just how I am in bed. Yeah. But yeah, so I went through a really difficult time like 4 years ago.
And you had spoke. You had said anxiety.
Yes.
When we're talking about anxiety, what are we talking about? The severity. What kind of symptoms are we talking about?
Oh, I did not know that anxiety could cause physical symptoms.
Okay. And that is not, people who do not experience anxiety have a hard time wrapping their heads around this.
Yeah.
I get what you're speaking about, but we need to make it clear the severity of how bad things can get. Mm-hmm. Physically ill.
Physically ill.
Yes.
Which, you know, like now that I look back, I know that it was like seriously a dumpster just like waiting to start on fire. You know, like I talked about how I became a single mom. I don't think I fully processed that. There was a lot of lack of control and anxieties around that. Mm-hmm. You know, and at the time that I went through this really bad time, I mean, that was 4 years ago. So Kylie was like 9 at the time. Right. So I had been a single mom for 8 years already at this point. So, I mean, I think that plays into it. Like ultimately, I think it's my lack of control. But now when I look back, there were 3 big things that happened in my life, just like boom, 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 that I think just ignited that fire in me. My daughter had started fainting. And the first time she fainted, she was standing right next to me in the bathroom. And I mean, it was to watch your kid just like lose consciousness and like, you know, her head hit the wall, like, ugh, like I just started screaming, and my husband was downstairs and he came up and like picked her up, and you know, she came back to pretty quick, but I was like,
but you had no idea what was going on.
No, never
just
had happened
out of
before.
Nowhere,
yeah.
We're talking.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty serious stuff. And then your mind, you have spoke about your anxiety, so I'm sure it rushes to places that you don't you shouldn't be.
Oh, absolutely.
WebMD.
And we traumatized, I mean, I traumatized her, you know, like, because we rushed her to every doctor possible to find out what, you know, in my head, what was wrong with my daughter, you know, like fix her. Like, this isn't normal, because that wasn't the only time she fainted. I mean, within a year time span, she fainted 4 times.
Right. Wow.
You know, and it was like,
it's not just something that happened once.
Yeah. And it was like, why is this happening?
Right.
You know, like, you know, and still to this day, we have no answers. But she hasn't fainted again. So I'm very thankful for that. You know, my kids both, for a while, she couldn't talk about it. You know, like, we couldn't talk about it. It was messy. It was so messy.
Between you and her?
Her and I could, but if we were going to sit down and talk about it, or it was going to get brought up, it would spiral her, you know. She was scared. She was scared to faint. She was scared to fall at school. She was really scared to faint at school and be embarrassed. And, you know, and we just had to coach her. Like, if you feel a certain way, sit down. Please just sit down, no matter where you're at. I mean, we were in Iowa City, you know, heart scans.
And they couldn't figure it out.
The doctor down there did tell us that it's actually more common than people know with people that faint.
I've never heard of just fainting. So now I know.
It was, you know, it was scary.
Scary as hell.
So scary.
Yeah.
You know, and
anytime your kid.
Like, lifeless, you know?
Yes.
It's just awful. And then, I mean, they'll still, like, you know, kids are kids, so they'll fall on the floor or wrestle or whatever. And they still know that my heart, like, skips a jump. Like, don't hit the floor hard, please. But so that was going on at the time. Tate, which I know you did a podcast on that.
With Ryan.
So Ryan and I have known each other since high school. Our schools played sports against each other. So, we knew each other from sports. Not super close friends by any means, but definitely acquaintances. And that's when, so all of this boom, 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 Tate's accident happened. And they live in the same neighborhood we do. So there were a lot of connections there. But for whatever reason, that spun me bad. Like, here's a beautiful family, a strong family.
Thinking about the stuff that they went through. And they're doing great. Like,
so great.
Yes, Tate is fantastic.
Yeah. So I think knowing, it's all control. It's all control stuff. Like, knowing Ryan and Fonda, and knowing how incredible parents they are, and like, they have no control over that. That
situation is absolutely terrible.
Horrible. Yeah. So that happened. I'm trying to think what.
And being intimate in that. I have spoke since starting the podcast and getting to sit and speak with some of these people and hear these stories firsthand. I feel like I'm kind of somewhat a part of them.
Oh, absolutely.
And then when these things happen, it's like, I can't imagine, being best friends with the couple. And I sat in his backyard as Ryan's telling me where this happens and the strength that guy has. We digressed, but
he's awesome.
Yeah.
He's
so
really
I
awesome.
Understand how it can shake you.
Oh, yeah.
And it didn't happen to you. But when you care about people and you allow that in and those relationships to grow and foster, this kind of stuff does happen.
Uh-huh.
And
it's scary.
It's scary as hell.
Mm-hmm.
But we got to figure out how to push through.
Yeah.
So that was number 2.
Yes. The third one was one of my friends had an affair on her husband.
And that can shake the core when it's close.
It is. It's so scary. I mean, it's just like so many emotions, So between those 3 things and realizing how much lack of control all 3 of those situations had, I think it just kind of
erupted.
And it was like a crash and burn, like straight downhill from there. Like, I think it ignited that deep anxiety in me. But then the part that was the worst was the physical symptoms. And the physical symptoms are what made me believe that I had cancer, I was dying, like there was something wrong with me because,
Prior to that experience, you had never felt anxiety like that before?
Never.
So it was all new?
It was all new. I never had, to my knowledge, physical symptoms of anxiety.
Right.
Do
you start thinking about your childhood stomach aches or things like that you can think of?
Now I've been in therapy and stuff like that. I had such a great childhood, and sometimes that was frustrating when I was going through it because I'm like, I'm an only child. My parents are two of the most incredible people ever, and anybody will tell you that. Like, they raised me to be strong, and they raised me to, I don't know, they just
You're strong.
I know.
You're here.
Right?
Telling this story.
I know.
Anxiety can touch anyone.
I don't think
regardless.
I really don't think anxiety, the control thing, hit me until probably I became a single parent.
Well, and then
my perfectionism started as a young age, which, can go hand in hand.
Yes.
But the true anxiety part and the lack of control and wanting control, I think, was when I became a single parent,
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people are going to be able to relate to that. That kind of stuff, unfortunately, in our society happens a lot.
Yeah.
And we got to figure it out, right?
Yeah.
You had spoke when this stuff happened. Are you comfortable sharing your experience with seeing professionals? Talking with someone?
Absolutely.
What did that look like for you? Had you in the past? Have you ever spoke with a professional?
I had. I had spoke with a professional when I became a single parent, just because I thought and knew that would be good for me.
Heck yeah.
Heck
yeah. That will get us through half of the battles.
Absolutely.
I know this is good for me. Do it.
Yeah.
Good on you.
But nothing to me sitting in there admitting my faults and my, like control issues and anxiety issues and perfectionist issues and stuff like that. So when my anxiety started during this time period, I didn't refuse to go to a counselor. But for whatever reason, when I started going through this, I went straight to, I am a strong woman. I have a beautiful life. Like, I'm going to get out of this, like myself. Mm-hmm. And I remember that I did go through a couple counselors. All that had a huge impact on my life. And then I found the one that I even still currently see to this day. You smile at me because
Yes, when you find them, you're like,
you're like, you are just like
Dr. Ross, if you're out there listening.
Yes. Yeah. So I didn't start going to counseling right away, even though I've always been a huge advocate for going to therapy and counseling. For others, right?
Huh. Yeah.
So, but I do remember being very anti-medication or like see a doctor. So yeah, it's hard for me to like really piece together how that all went. But I do remember my mom, who I'm very, very, very close to, and has struggled with anxiety. She's also has struggled with depression on the side. So very knowledgeable and very like just comforting.
Wealth of information.
Oh yeah.
Experiences.
Yeah. She took me to lunch one day. We were at Applebee's. And I just will never forget it. Like, she looked me straight in my eyes and she was like, "That's it.
Cut the crap.
Cut it out. Like, we're getting you help. Like, you have reached a point that now that like you need help."
Yeah.
The sad part is I was okay with that. Okay, I need to see a counselor. I need to see I need to go see somebody. To get into somebody last minute like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so I think it was going to be a little while before I could get into a counselor. And so my mom was like, "Okay, well, we need to find a doctor, somebody you can talk to." I mean, I can't even tell you how bad I was. Like, I couldn't leave my house. Like, I was a mess. I wasn't sleeping.
Would you leave your house? What was your thought process?
That I would just be crying the whole entire time I was gone.
You just felt like a roller coaster inside?
I can't even tell you like the extreme of the fear that I had something wrong with me. And so like, I remember even like looking out our back sliding glass door being like, how are my kids? My kids aren't going to survive. Like, how are my kids going to get through life without their mom? Like I had already given myself like pretty much yes.
Yeah.
Like I had self-diagnosed myself with every sort of cancer. It's just like now talking about it and like looking back, I'm like, oh my gosh, Michelle. But like in the moment,
you
like
cannot escape.
I could not get that thought out of my head. So the day that my mom took me out to eat, we ended up finding a doctor who is still my doctor. So I ended up switching doctors to this doctor. The cool thing is he used to work on a mental health floor, and now he does, like has his own family practice.
Okay.
And he was such a blessing because wealth of experience. Yeah. Oh, sometimes I want to sit down with him because even now when I talk to him, he was like, if you could just have seen you that day that you came into my office for the first time and then now see you now. Like,
Heck yeah. Heck yeah.
But yeah, so.
That is a testament to why S.M.A.C.K has taken off, because your people that are close to you have seen this transformation that has taken place in you and they believe in you now.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's working.
It's crazy. Yeah. Yeah. And I kept doing photography through it, because it's just crazy. It's just crazy to look back.
So what did the help look like that you received? You went and spoke with someone? So
I went and spoke to that doctor. At that time, he recommended that I start going to counseling. He knew very much that I was anti-medication. So there wasn't, his hands were sort of tied as far as that went. He pretty much just told me, I'm here for you. I think you're going to need to be on a medication, but you do you and just let me know what I can do to help you. Right. Both my doctor and my counselor are very outspoken and like, Michelle, like tell me what, they're just awesome people. So yeah, I started seeing a counselor and I did EDMR. Have you heard of that?
It's a type of therapy?
Yes. Yes. So yeah, it was.
By no means am I a subject matter expert in it.
Yeah, no, me either. But that was pretty crazy cool. I was just a process of getting me to a point of like acknowledging why I thought something was wrong with me and why I was in the state of mind that I was in. But yeah, so I still see my counselor to this day.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's kind of cool. I saw my doctor every 3 weeks or 4 weeks just to check in. He made sure I came back. I had lost so much weight because I wasn't eating well. I wasn't sleeping well,
Yeah. And that affects, and those things compound, right? The little things start adding up, and pretty soon you're getting 2 hours of sleep. You lay down for 12 and you're sleeping for 2.
Yeah. It's crazy.
Yeah, it's insane.
Just the like dizziness and like my legs twitching and just your
stuff
heart.
that anxiety produced that you would have no clue until you see a professional and they're like, oh yeah, here's what the issue is.
Yep. Once my counselor told me my body was in extreme fight or flight, that was like a aha moment for me because it,
came to light as to why you were feeling the way that you were feeling when all your entire life you've wondered why. Yeah. Yeah, that's powerful stuff.
Yeah.
But you never would have received it unless you had the strength to go seek the help you needed.
Absolutely.
And that's a testament that we should push to heaven or high water, right?
Yeah.
Because sometimes we don't have all the answers.
Right.
We can't expect that to be the case.
Yeah. And something cool is my mom, I remember my mom, all I wanted to be told during that time was that I was going to be okay and that I would be back to normal.
Right.
Is what I would always say. Like, am I going to feel normal ever again? And I'll never forget, again, my mom looked at me and she was like, nope. Like, you'll never be that Michelle again. And
That's
I was,
okay.
But it was like, I was angry because I was like, I would do anything to be that Michelle again, like anything to be that Michelle again. And now I get what she meant.
Yeah. Now you can understand.
Now I get it. Yep. Yeah. Like, you're going to be a Michelle that lets go of control, and you're going to be a Michelle that just, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Has grown.
Yeah.
Hell yeah, I know what you mean. It's awesome.
Yeah. Yep. And there were some big ha moments in there,
And you never would have received them if you hadn't had that initial mom and taking the chance.
Yeah.
And doing it.
Yep. I was looking out the back window at the kids' swing set, and I even asked my husband, like, what are my kids going to do without their mom? And he was like, what are they going to do, Michelle? And I remember thinking like,
same thing as, what are you going to do without a job, Michelle? Now do something, Michelle.
Right? Yeah. So like it was a very good, those moments were a ha-ha, but that's the S.M.A.C.K thing, you know, was like an aha moment that really changed my life.
Hell yeah. And not just yours. Yeah. There's thousands of people's lives who you're changing.
It's crazy. It's crazy to see that being in my shoes, you know, to see
I
it
can't
from the
imagine
outside.
Being a creator. So being that you've dealt with anxiety, I'm kind of curious personally. There's some days where it's hard for me to be here and be excited, and not every day is roses, you know. There's hard shit that happens in life still.
Absolutely.
How do you always remain able to spread hope? What sort of things are you doing to make sure that you stay even keeled now and we don't revert back to those hard times?
You know, I think the biggest thing that I learned through all of it is self-care. And I'm not perfect at it. You know, I mean, I've got 2 kids and a busy life, so it's hard.
Photography, S.M.A.C.K has taken over.
Yes.
And 2 children and a wife and it's busy just like everybody else.
Yeah, it's hard. The crazy part now is, just like when Kylie was fainting, she started to acknowledge the feeling of what she felt like right before it was going to happen. And I feel like now she can be like, okay, you don't breathe, whatever. And I almost feel that same way with anxiety. Like I can feel it creeping in. There's a feeling I feel, you know what I mean? And it's like, okay, wait a second. Like I need to put on my brakes. I need to, you know, like take care of myself right now.
Right.
This winter has been difficult for me, like probably the most difficult since I went through that. You know, there's been times where it's like creeped in and
that gets scary.
It does get scary because it's like you're like, oh, no, we're not doing that again. We're not doing that again. We're done with this shit. Yeah.
Heck yeah. Well, you call me if you need somebody because I ain't going back either.
Gosh, right? Like, yeah. So I think self-care is so big.
Yeah.
Like, and it's
undervalued in society as a whole.
Absolutely. And I think too, like when I thought of self-care before, it was like going and spending $100 on a massage or, you know, like.
And it might be.
It might be.
But it doesn't have to be.
Exactly. Like it can be deep breathing.
Yeah.
Like my counselor told me, like, focus on your toes, on your toes. It's like silly things like that just can reframe your mind for long enough. Not that it makes the anxiety just instantly disappear, but you're like training your brain to like
not be in flight.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's powerful stuff. If we allow it to take seed, right? And we use those practices.
Absolutely.
Heck yeah. Yeah, I firsthand benefited by it. You have as well.
Yeah.
My hopes are that this podcast episode, people are like, I feel that way. Or, you know, I've dealt with that. I get you. I know what you're going through.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people deal with these feelings.
Absolutely.
And they can debilitate you.
Oh my gosh. I can't even put it into words how I was.
How you felt inside. And then how the symptoms affected you, you know?
Oh my gosh.
The kind of things that are possible with anxiety.
The things your body does, like blurry vision, like eye floaters.
Palpitating heart, you know?
Yep. Elephant sitting on your chest. It's just
narrow
so
vision.
crazy.
It's crazy what can happen.
Absolutely.
But that shows the strength of your mind, and that should prepare us for knowing how to harness it and use it for the good ways.
Yep.
Like creating S.M.A.C.K and pushing hope. And I love it. I shared with you those 2 that are my favorite. Now, S.M.A.C, 4x4 cards. In a pack, you get 100 of these. And you have how many packs?
14.
14 is what we decided, I think. And those range.
Yeah.
How do you come up with your ideas for those packs? What sort of things have spoke to you in creating them so far?
Well, the first pack that I made, I think we talked about it. Like I wrote it with a Sharpie marker. Just because writing is like therapy to me. And that first pack that I made was honestly just made for myself, you know, or some of my close friends.
Right.
So I don't think we touched on it, but I received a 4-inch card during that anxiety from someone I don't know. So,
you still don't know that person?
She is a photographer in the area, but no, I've never met her.
We got to line that up at some point in time.
I know.
Yes.
Yeah.
Heck yeah.
But it said, people heal. That's all it said. But she sent it in the mail. And I was belly down on our bed bawling. And my husband brought in the mail. And here's this little card that said people heal on it. So I experienced that feeling of receiving that card. And like, those are the words that like I needed to hear.
Right at that moment.
Like,
Almost like it's a coincidence or something.
Yeah, right?
I don't believe in freaking coincidences. So get out of here with
gosh,
that.
It's
that
crazy.
was meant for you.
Right?
Hell yeah. Exactly.
Yeah. So the first pack obviously was inspired by me receiving that card myself, but I just had intentions of myself spreading it around the Cedar Valley or my close friends. I mean, we've got quite the like village of friends. And so, and then,
which is also a testament. So I used to have this kind of narrow mindset that like I wanted my circle small so I could trust all these people and all. I've blown that away.
Yeah.
The bigger it is, I want everybody to be friends with everyone. Like it's so powerful, right?
Yeah, you learn so much from the way people live and do things.
And we're all so different.
Yeah.
And the community that you've created with S.M.A.C.K, I've seen it. And the places that this is shared and the different ideas that people create of how to do it. It's so insane.
I think what makes it so unique is that it naturally developed a community. And now the community of people started here in the Cedar Valley, and then it like grew to Iowa.
Do you know currently where you're all located state-wise? How many states?
So it's been sold multiple times to every state.
Hell yeah.
I know. Isn't it crazy?
And you've been around since, was it March?
March 27th was the first pack
of 2020.
I sold of 2020. Mm-hmm.
And now we're barely into 2022.
Right.
All states. That's wild.
It's so crazy.
Dang, girl.
Yeah, it's so crazy.
Heck yeah.
But yeah, the stories are just...
wild.
Like you said, people are like, "Oh, that's nice."
Yeah. When my wife told me about it, I was like, "That's a good idea."
Yeah.
I don't need one.
Right.
But when I received one,
yeah.
changed the game for me, Michelle.
It is. But that's the thing is it like naturally developed this community. So there's a Facebook group.
Yes. Speak on that.
Yeah. So it's called S.M.A.Ckers. But what's cool is people post them, whether they give them, they take a picture and like, I did this with this card.
This was my nice steed or.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then to see a stranger find it or, just to see it come full circle.
Yeah.
It's just.
Heck yeah.
I think
and you've
that
shared
community.
those on that. So if people want to find that community is on Facebook.
Yeah.
And they can, it's free to join and everyone's invited, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think to answer your question, like what gives me the hope to keep going? Mm-hmm. Like some days I don't. I'm going to be honest. Like some days I, have hard days and rough days, but like it's the community of people that just keep it going,
Help
like
pick you back up.
They are like the stories. It's like, okay, we got this, like we're making an impact,
Exactly.
Yeah.
Heck
so.
Yeah. Well, with that, I mean, I had a list of things that I have given S.M.A.Ks for. I got one from the teacher, and shortly after that, I got a second card. So I was like, yeah, I like where this is going. And then I bought a pack, and I've been giving them away, and I shared that I got one at the gala that I recently.
Yes.
So mini S.M.A.C packs. Now you've started to incorporate others and try to help raise awareness and raise funds for certain events.
Yes.
Tell me a little bit about that.
So I don't remember who the first mini pack was for.
And those are a smaller version of what you're selling right now.
Yeah, so most of all the packs come with 100 cards, and then the mini packs come with 40.
Okay.
But yeah, so I believe it was for the Schwabs. Jen and Lynn Schwab was maybe the first mini pack for autism awareness.
For Allison Schwab. Heck
yeah.
Cool.
So Allison picked what saying she wanted to be in the pack, but I still hand wrote them.
Yeah.
But yeah, so then it's amazing how many people, that are dealing with autism, these cards speak to them because they say words like autism and spectrum and,
things
all
that they
the
have
things
to deal with on the daily.
Yes.
That we aren't even privy to.
Yes. Of course, like one says team shit show, which people get a kick out of. And if you know Allison,
I know Allison. She was on here too.
Yeah, that's what I thought. But so I make these mini packs and then a portion of the proceeds go back to, their nonprofit organizations.
Yes.
So
yes.
Yeah.
And I'm familiar with a couple of those. You had the Bea Beckett. You worked with that family and that tragedy and helped them out.
Yeah.
And then we talked about Jade's Pack with the kiwi and Cambry.
Yep.
That's pretty
and
sweet,
we did
too.
one for Knox Blocks.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. And that's a huge in our community, too. That's
Yeah.
a wild foundation.
Yeah.
Hopefully I talk someday with that.
She's a doll.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So with that, though, I cannot ever let you get out of here without your this or that. So this or that is, don't get excited about it. Because there's been some people who were pretty worried about these, but there's nothing to worry about. This episode of The Firing Range was sponsored by Joe Wilson. If you're looking to buy or sell your house, Joe Wilson at Vine Valley is your guy. You can contact him at 319-486-8115. Even if you're just looking to explore options, go give Joe a call. Joe was on the podcast, awesome guy, heart of gold. I have nothing but amazing things to say about Joe Wilson. Thanks, Joe, for sponsoring this episode of The Firing Range. Are you ready to rock and roll, Michelle?
This does give me anxiety.
Don't let
I'm
it.
just kidding.
So, Michelle, with S.M.A.C.K. S.M.A.C.K stands, we did not cover that. It stands for spreading messages of affirmation, compassion, and kindness. And that runs right along with what I'm trying to do with the podcast. And I just thought you were the perfect guest to have on.
Awesome.
So thank you.
Yeah.
First question, photograph or video?
Ooh, you're going to actually be surprised by this one, though.
All right, what is it?
As a photographer, I would actually say video.
All right. Vacation or staycation? They're going to be tough.
Oh, how I've changed. I would say vacation.
Hot coffee or iced coffee? You have to pick one. I know how difficult some of these are.
I'm going to say iced coffee.
Jeans or sweatpants?
Sweatpants.
Are you a dreamer or a realist?
Dreamer.
Sunrise or sunset?
Sunset.
Dine in or eat out?
Eat out.
Here's one. Vikings or Panthers?
Vikings or Panthers?
You and I Panthers or Minnesota Vikings?
You cheated. Did you know I was a Vikings fan?
Of course, I had to study you for this episode.
I'm going to say Panthers.
Okay. You gained some fans for that one. Yeah. Crosswords or Wordle?
Wordle.
Affirmation, compassion, or kindness? Which is your favorite?
Compassion.
Heck yeah. I love it. Thank you, Michelle, for your time. Yes. Like I said, I think so much of you, the community that you have created, the amazing things that you are doing with this and your life. It's outstanding. I love what you're doing. Continue on the road.
Thank you.
Thanks, Michelle.
Awesome.
Special thanks to my friend Katie Hine at Mattress by Appointment, Cedar Falls, for her sponsorship of Season 2 of The World with Nate.